stations are tuned in too.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any materials produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Paranormal Buzz Radio is proud to present Girls vs. Ghosts, The Realm Walker with Kelly McCarville, live, only on Spreaker. Every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific. And as always, join us in our live interactive chat by going to Spreaker.com or downloading the Spreaker app for your devices. Kelly is a respected paranormal investigator and also a very gifted medium and brings a unique perspective into the paranormal field. Be sure to follow Kelly on all her social media at Facebook, Kelly McCarville Moonspinner, Instagram and Twitter at Moonspinner76, and on the web at mysticalmoonspinner.com. Here's your host, Kelly McCarville.
Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday evening. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. First off, my apologies for us running late and getting started here late. Completely and totally my fault. I haven't been sleeping enough, and I was sitting working on something and somehow managed to fall asleep. So 7:57, I wake up, look at my phone, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So my lovely Shay was waiting and ready for me and pulls my hiney out of a crunch like all the time. So once again, just a huge, huge thank you to Miss Shay and Paranormal Buzz Radio for keeping good track of me. Somebody's got to do it. It's a lot of work. All right. Tonight on The Realm Walker, I have the pleasure of having John Black on with us. Hi, John. How you doing?
Hi. Hope you can hear me.
I can hear you just fine, and I'm sure if they can't, they'll let us know. So I had the pleasure of meeting John a little over a month ago for the first time, really, I think, and just hit it off with him. He's a super great guy, fun to talk to, fun to listen to, guys. We'll let him talk here a little bit so you guys can hear him for a bit.
I think might be overselling this.
So I'm going to let John just introduce himself pretty briefly here. Why don't you tell us about you, John?
Well, my name's John Black. I'm an IT guru guy. So any of you work in offices, I'm the kind of guy that just scuttles up and fixes stuff, tries to stay out of the way. I got into the paranormal about 2 years ago, just by accident. I was a total skeptic, if I can use that word. I know a lot of people don't like that word. But I was at Edinburgh Manor, and I heard voices, and I couldn't explain them. And ever since then, I've been getting the gear together, and we got a group together, and we've been hunting it down ever since.
That's very, very cool. So it's funny how everybody gets into this in a different way, and just all the different ways that people start with their own experiences, or whether it's because they're just got this genuine curiosity. It's interesting to me that, with the IT background, most of the time you would assume that that's a scientific approach. It's very much see it, believe it type thing, It
kind of is. I stay objective as much as I can. I look at a lot of stuff out there, and I try and figure out how people got from there from here, if you know what I mean. So, it's I have to see. I feel like a math teacher The ones I hated just go, it's like, can you show me the working? How did you get to this answer? So it's and that's, to me, that's the fun in it. I like to try and figure out, apart from the narrative and everything else, is how does that work, I guess, is my angle I come at it.
And that's what we need, and I think that's the goal of a lot of us, is to try to figure out how does this all work? How's this happening? So I want to back up just a little bit. So WTF Paranormal Investigations, the obvious question that comes to mind with that, where'd the name come from?
Well, that's kind of self-explanatory. When we were at Edinburgh for the first time, I went there with another team member, or now a team member, Jeff. We've been friends for a long time, and he and his wife, they went there because, they're more spiritual than I am. So they wanted to go there and do it. So we booked up a night at Edinburgh Manor. I thought it would be kind of like camping and telling ghost stories with a flashlight under your chin and be fun. I was also enjoying. I was going to enjoy watching them winding themselves up and jumping in shadows, because, like I say, to me it was, I didn't believe in it. So the thing is, when we were on the stairs, myself and a friend of mine, who also didn't believe, we were just there for a night out that didn't give you a hangover, we heard children's voices, and we both looked at each other, and that's where the name came from. That's what we said. So, that's we were trying to think of a good name, but we go at it. We started off less serious than we are now, to be honest with you. We just wanted to go there and see if it would happen again.
But that's okay to not always take it completely serious. I mean, and I mean that in the appropriate way. Yeah, what we're doing is science. We're out there. We're trying to figure this out. We're trying to explain things. We're trying to gather that data to help share with other people. But you still have to have fun. You still. It's hard for me, the teams that go at this, and they're so stuffy. It's like, come on, guys, loosen up and have a little bit of fun. Because if you walk into my house and you're all sorts of stuffy and serious, that's going to be the most boring interaction that we have ever had, Yeah,
I mean, the way we try and go at it is we're 50-50. We're not scientists. We know that. We're never going to have... we know there's enough of us to know the scientific method where you have to go through all the rigmarole and everything else, and it will be not fun to do it totally science. But try and stay objective. We have fun. We're serious for a lot of it, and then we walk away. We're less serious. Then we come back into it. We're serious again. And when we're not investigating, we have a thing on our YouTube called Talking with Spirits, where we just go to the bar, turn the camera on, discuss stuff, and drink. And, that's definitely not serious, but it's fun. So,
It's, and I get a lot of people who ask me, what do you think about drinking on investigations? And it's not that the drinking necessarily hurts the investigation. It's just, if somebody comes to you and says, well, were you drinking? Yes. Oh, well, then it couldn't possibly have been real. Are you sure, though? Because you can basically, it lowers a person's logic. And a lot of times your logic is what gets in the way of you having an experience. So, I don't know. It's one of those 50-50 things.
Excuse me, I got a bit of a cough. But we don't drink on investigations. That's a big thing that we
absolutely.
Do. But that being said, I also we're big on experiments. There's an experiment I want to do when we find the right location. I mean, not get totally loaded, but have a few drinks and then go do it and do like a spirit box and stuff like that.
And then get totally loaded. Oh.
Right. Well, there's things you do that are more, let's say, intuitive than they are scientific. Being drunk and trying to read a meter, or, being, let's just say, tipsy and sitting and just opening yourself up to the place. I'd like to do that experiment. But on the whole, no. But for us, that's a big no-no. We haven't done it yet. We might do it under controlled situation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're pretty similar too. I mean, it's my going joke. We don't mix spirits with spirits. So, but it would be kind of fun, like you said, to just say, okay, we're going to have a couple drinks and go see what happens. And just, like you said, not get totally snockered. But
I'll be honest, though. Who's to say where you go drink? Like, we have a small bar that I built out back. Who's to say there's no ghosts back there? If you see what I mean. So,
well, they're everywhere.
So mixing spirits with spirits, maybe you don't have a choice.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're getting a couple questions in chat for you. Shay wanted to know for sure your accent is Scottish, right?
Okie dokie.
I'm guessing there's a joke there that I missed.
No, it's kind of British. I've been here a long, long time, and I spent 11 years in Germany, so you take your pick.
Lots of comments about they like the accent, though, just so you know.
Thank you. Although I don't have an accent, you do.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to remember where I was either, that we'd gone on vacation somewhere, and they're like, I think we were down in Texas. They're like, your accent's funny. And I'm just like, what? Did you hear yourself talk? Okay. So what is your device of choice when you're on an investigation?
Oh, and I know where that probably came from, that question. It depends. I'll be really honest with you. It depends where we're at and what we're trying to accomplish or do. We try and do experiments, or when we do something, we try and have a goal instead of just wandering around and seeing if something will go off.
Right.
We try to do set pieces. My personal favorite that I always use, we took a metal detector because it gives out a lot more energy than the little things they sell that have spinning motors in them, the ghost feeders.
Right.
So, and it also has the advantage that if that charge is reflected back, it actually goes off. Now,
okay.
The nice thing is, nothing should set that off apart from metal. And we test it by putting, like wedding rings in front of it, make sure it's running. Mm-hmm. But it does go off, and it goes off at times. If we're using the spirit box and we're getting a lot of activity, it will go off more. When we're at the squirrel cage in Iowa,
right? We
were talking, and it went off a lot. Well, I left the camera on it when we walked away, and we weren't near it. We weren't setting it off because you have to get within a couple of inches to set it off. We walked away, so nothing was happening. It stopped going off very much. So I kind of enjoy that. That's my, is there anything going on, go-to piece of equipment. That answers the question.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that working. It sounds good. It's hard. It's always hard to say what your favorite piece of equipment is because there's so many different ones, and it really just does depend on where you're at and what's going to react. But yeah, it's interesting when you get places where you should not have anything going on and you have experience.
Yeah, and I used to have a love-hate relationship with the spirit box, the SB7.
Right.
And because I'm like, the reason I got one is so I could debunk it. It's like, oh, voices from a radio, really? Come on. But there are places where, and we went on one last week, we were getting, and this is in Tama, Iowa, we were getting no radio stations. And we should have been getting radio stations, but we weren't. We were just getting the white noise. And we were only getting things when we asked questions. We were getting speak back. So, I kind of like using the spirit box to give me a test of, okay, am I getting just normal stuff, or is it acting weird? So I guess, all these pieces of equipment, if you know what the baseline is and you can see one or two of them acting weird, then maybe you're onto something, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think it makes absolute sense. So did you dig into how they work?
Sorry. Into the SB?
Like how an SB7 works? Here's why I'm asking this. So there's a lot of tools out there that I can go out on investigations with, and I'm perfectly fine with other people using them or using them myself, and they don't really bother me at all. But for whatever reason, a spirit box makes me sick.
Really?
I can't be around them. It's like the room starts
sick,
spinning.
like they should work, or sick you just don't feel well when they're working?
It doesn't necessarily matter whether or not they're getting any communication through them. Something about the device itself, when they turn it on, that it's like the room kind of starts spinning, and I get really lightheaded.
I'll be honest. One of our members, Eric, excuse me, he hates the spirit box. A, he doesn't believe in it, and B, it really gets on his nerves. And I can understand that because at the beginning it did. I mean, because all you hear is that the whole time. So, I've got an idea of, I wanted to debunk it, I hated it. But the more I've done this, the more I'm starting to figure out that I think it's easier. And I always put in front of this, if ghosts exist. And the reason I do that is because I'm trying to be objective. So It's easier for them to manipulate electronics, because if they are energy, I can see how that can work than it is actually manipulating physical things. Because if that makes sense. So, I've had enough improbable things happen on the spirit box where I kind of enjoy using it. So. Right.
And I've heard some really good responses out of a spirit box before. So I'm not saying that anything bad against the device. I've always wondered why they affect me the way that they do. And I'm not the only person who said that. I've heard other people who have, especially like heightened sensibility, say that the SB7s or 11s, even for whatever reason, just messes with them. So.
Yeah. And like I say, some places it works, some places we get nothing. So,
Yeah, definitely. All right. The next question that we had for you is, what do you want to see more of in the field, in the paranormal field?
Oh, I don't think it really matters what I want to see. I mean, the field does what the field wants to do. I mean...
If you had your choice, though.
If I had my choice, I would like to see a little more objectivity sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially on social media. It's hard when, especially in the circles I move around, it depends. Like I say, if you're at a conference, you kind of preach into the choir, everyone's cool. But if you drop, hey, what do you do? I'm a ghost hunter. What? Really? Well, I'm a paranormal investigator. Oh, but it doesn't, to more people, it doesn't matter. So if you can hook them long enough to actually speak objectively, then you can actually communicate with, people who don't believe as much or are on the fence. You can actually talk to them and say, give examples like, even scientists now are becoming more agnostic as to, whether we are more than just the cells we're made of. They're looking at dark matter, dark energy, and the thing is, they don't know what they are. They can't measure them. Maybe that sounds familiar because that's what I do when I go out ghost hunting, So, I just like to see a little bit more, if people say they believe in something, that's fine. But once again, the old math teacher, show you working. How did you get there?
Right. I'd almost take that the other side of it, though, too. And then there's the ones that everything is something, and they need zero proof. Like, they won't debunk anything.
I'm not knocking it. I mean, but then then you're more on faith. And that's not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from...
It's like both sides of the pendulum, You swing too much this way where none of it's real, or you swing too much this way where everything's real. It's like, guys, happy medium. Happy medium.
When I say being objective, what I also mean is, and that was my kind of epiphany, in that I was too far on the other side, in that ghosts don't exist, ghosts don't exist.
Right.
Well, if I've closed my mind that much, then I'm not being objective, because my leap of faith was maybe they do exist, and if they do, that every time you come up with a statement saying something is true, there are a lot of ramifications for that. So that's where I'm at, is, okay, if they are real, what does that mean, and how do they interact, etc., etc. So,
yeah, definitely.
Or did I just muddy the waters?
No, it's all good. All right, so next question from chat. What is your opinion about demons in the field?
I don't like the word demons. I mean, which doesn't really mean anything, but I have a problem putting labels on things that are derivative from something else. So if we call them demons, that's derivative from all the old religions, which brings it into the religious realm, so I don't use it. Now, the thing is, either it's a non-human entity or it's a human entity that's an absolute arse in real life and death. I mean, just because it's bad, labeling it a demon, to me, brings us back into the Middle Ages. So, just say it's a bad spirit, or it's, I don't like the word demon, because all of a sudden that has all the other connotations to the word. Right. That don't need to be there, I don't think. But that's just my opinion.
No, and a lot of that, this is what this is, John, is just an opportunity for you to share what your opinions are and your thoughts. And, I think the only thing we know for sure in the paranormal field is that we don't know for sure what the answers are. We can only tell you what we think. Mm-hmm. So there's no proof and there's no experts. So.
No, but we can show our working a little bit.
We absolutely can show our work a little bit. Yeah. I'm trying to think, because I've heard you say that multiple times. I'm like, how do I show my work to you? Because
you don't. When you say your work, you mean yours personally?
Like the psychic medium side of things that I do. Because there's one thing for you to be going out and paranormal investigating, but it's a whole other thing for the psychic medium. So let me back up and ask that question. What are your views on psychic mediums?
I think that, here's the thing. I have not made that leap of faith. I'm not saying it's not true.
You're not going to offend me, honey.
No, but let me finish. Because here's the thing. There are a lot of bad psychic mediums out there, and there always have been.
Oh, yeah.
And the ones that are out there, I think, shoot themselves in the foot a little, in that some of the specifics, they don't try and draw out specifics as much as they could. And I'm not telling you how to be a psychic or anything like that. I'm just saying, for me personally, as a person from the outside looking in, because I don't have that ability. And if I did have that ability, I would be all over it. I'd be like, how does this work? How are you doing this? How is, those are the questions I'd be asking. Someone once asked me, if you could sit with a spirit and ask him questions, who would it be? My answer was Einstein, because I want to know how this works, and he might be able to answer that. So, I guess from people, on the outside looking in, they look at someone who's psychic and they ask, how does it work? And of all the questions for a psychic to ask a ghost, that should be up there somewhere, you'd think. Or at least I'd think. I'm not trying to tell you what to think.
No. I always... That's a question that I get quite a bit, and that's a question that I struggle with answering, because I wish that I could say more scientifically, here's how it works. I can tell you the way that it works for me, but I don't know... how I'm getting the messages that I make. I just
spirit, some spirits move things, or some spirits do this.
Or how did you do that? Yeah.
How does that work? Ask them. Just a little hint to make us point us in the right direction. We don't need the whole answer, but if they said, "Oh, it's magnet or electromagneticity," I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. We should sit down and chat sometime.
A view from the outside.
I want to pick your brain. All right, you're getting a lot of questions, so I'm just kind of running through them as they're coming in.
Throw them at me.
What is your view on applications such as Spiritus or similar apps?
The Spiritus I've already debunked, and Sarah actually, she was a big fan of Spiritus, and she, that's Sarah who from Seeking Paranormal.
Yep.
We were on one, and I kept telling her that, it does record you through the microphone and spit some of it out through an effect. That way, it can get more into the conversation when you ask things. It will start spitting things out that are relevant because you've said them. And I've caught it doing it. And then finally, she caught it doing it. So what's made by people, especially programs, I have a problem with. Not because I don't see how they work. With the radio, I can understand it. If a ghost is energy, I can understand how that works. That's direct interface. But for a ghost to figure out what the binary is, it's ones and zeros. So a ghost has got to figure out all the ones and zeros to make the actual word. That's too much work, and it's who would do that, and why would they, and how would they do that? I don't get it. So
okay, but in my non-science brain, and I'm not trying to argue. This is my science brain because I'm so not a techie person. How would that be any different than them manipulating like a spirit box then? Because they still have to get to
a spirit box is
taking that energy and manipulating it to put together the words and the sounds that they want to come out of the device, which to me is the same like a spirit is.
It's the same as EVPs, roughly, in that, and at least my theory, because none of this is proven.
Right.
If it's a direct interaction with a spirit box or with a microphone to cause an EVP. So the energy, goes through, hits they don't have to figure out binary or programming or anything like that. It's just direct energy onto the antenna. And if they've worked it out, great. How to do that, I don't know. Like I said, these are the questions I would ask if I could.
That's interesting. I'll pay closer attention.
That's my experience with Spiritus.
No, and I appreciate that, and I'll listen to it closer. I mean, Spiritus, very honestly, is one of the applications that I go to the most. And it's because of my personal experiences with it, where I can hear the spirit start to answer the question through my abilities and hear it finish through Spiritus. So it's hard for me to say then that it doesn't work because of that.
We had some sessions with Spiritus. I'll be honest. I was on the fence for a long time. We've got one posted where we were sitting in the Granger house and it was hitting like lots of stuff. It was Nico had got touched on the hand. It came through and said, "Don't touch." So am I going to write it off 100%? No.
Right.
But I just find it cumbersome that why use that tool? The only reason I think for a lot of people is because you don't get the hissing in between, and it's very easy to use. It's easy on the ears. I'm just not convinced that that's the best tool to use, if I can put it that way. Because even if it does work, it's too much work. You've got to figure out, all the binary. That chip's saying the words. It's not the ghost. It's got to come from the chip, you would think. The same with the Ovilus. You got to get the right temperature and the right EMF. Then it has to pick a word from the library, which is written in binary. So why make all that work for a ghost? I'd rather someone did a spirit box that didn't have the hissing in the middle. That would be much easier as far as I'm concerned. But once again, that's just me.
See, and I don't know how I feel about the Ovilus because I Yeah, I just don't know how I feel about him. Interesting. I'm going to pay better attention.
Yeah.
Listen and see, because this weekend. So just a comment while I'm thinking about it. So this coming weekend at Malvern Manor, Chris Case Productions is putting on an investigation. And he has a bunch of special guests coming out. So he's going to have Elizabeth Saint. He'll have Johnny Hauser and Charla Hardin will all be there, along with Ashley Godwin. So a lot of cool people are coming out. Like I said, this event is put on by Chris Case. It's this Saturday, starts at 3:30, I think. And last I knew, there were a couple tickets available. So it's going to be a great time, guys. If you are looking for something to do, you should head on out to Malvern. This is like the best combination of everything, of all the people. Great guy putting on the event. Malvern Manor. Hello. It's going to be a good time. So anyways, little plug. I'm excited. Okay, sorry. I just totally did a commercial right in the middle of that. Sorry about that. All right, let me get back to questions here. What are your views on black mirrors, and do you think they really work?
I don't have any because I've never tried one, to be honest, or never looked into it. So I'm not going to tell people yay or nay on something I have no experience with. Didn't help, but it was honest.
No, that absolutely works. That absolutely works. Alrighty. So Shay said she tries to be as objective as possible, but as I'm trying to debunk, I go with it in case a spirit is trying communicating. What is your approach?
I'll be honest with you. I get intuitive. If I feel that something is out of the ordinary, I will go with it. But I record everything, and I will go back on it later. And the reason being is because I'm human. I get caught up in the moment, same as everybody else. And a lot of times where I've felt something's happening, I mark it, and when I go back, a lot of times something is happening. And, you know, it's the thing about paranormal. The reason something's paranormal is because it's improbable. And when there's so many improbabilities happening at once, then I feel like, hey, I'm hitting something. You know, that's the thing. So, once again, the spirit box, a lot of people will say, whoa, this voice is coming out of a radio course. But the probability of getting words out of that radio that are answering a question or talking about the place you're in, you know, the improbabilities stack up enough. I'm willing to go with it. Does that answer?
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the places that you have investigated? I know you've mentioned quite a few that you've investigated here or there. Do you want to tell us about some places you've been to?
Well, at first year, like I say, we did what we call the circuit in our group, you know, from Squirrel Cage, Edinburgh, Mason, excuse me, Dumfries, the Granger House. But what I will say is that there's lots of places we want to go and do, but we do concentrate on going somewhere. A lot of the guys want to kind of go to all these places that are on the list, and we will, but we've picked 2 or 3 that we want to do as regularly as we can, because the data, one point of data doesn't help anybody. But when you start getting data, you know, at the same place, corresponding data, that's kind of what we like to do. In fact, we're so far at the Granger, we're going to do, for us, it's a big step, is we're going to do a predictive experiment, which is, you know, you predict what's going to happen before you do the experiment, and then you do it, and then you see if the results are what you predicted. And that's what we're going to do at the Granger, because we think we know we've been there enough, and we've seen things happen regularly, so we're going to predict it before it starts. Then we're going to see if it happens, and if it does, I think that's, for us, that's a big leap. And then we'll leave it there for other groups to see if it happens.
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
So if you predict paranormal before paranormal happens, suddenly it's not so paranormal anymore. Even though you don't know how it's happening.
Can I just, sorry, there was this dead silence as I'm thinking, this is phenomenal. I love the way your brain works.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. You got my brain thinking, and okay, I'm paying attention. I truly am paying attention. I'm just like,
no, but I mean,
that is a phenomenal concept.
When you ask me what I'd like to see more in the paranormal community, this is the kind of thing. If we look at, if we can get somewhere where we can do that, we can predict.
Yeah.
Then we can go out to, somebody in science and say, look, honestly, you come here, that happens. You tell me how it's happening. If you see what I mean. We're not scientists, but
right.
Get somewhere where we can say, look, this really is a thing. You come do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all we can do as amateur investigators.
Very, very cool. All right. So with the way that you approach things and the very logical, realistic, approach that you take, which I love, by the way, what has been your best experience that you just could not explain it, had absolutely no explanation, but it was a wow moment for you?
There's a few of them that keeps me going. When you go to places and not much happens, or much of the same thing happens, and you're like, I'm chasing the tail. But for example, we were walking up to the boiler room, me and Jeff, and you could hear something getting thrown in there, a piece of metal. So that's one thing. I'm like, well, metal doesn't throw on its own.
Right.
Farrar had been poked in the arm. Voices. Edinburgh, that's always a big one for stuff happening that you just can't explain. That's kind of in your face halfway. So, that's, it's lots of things. There's no one big one. Because, to be honest with you, I wake up the next morning, I try and rationalize it. And you're not there you're not invested at that.
Right.
So, but the ones that last with me are the ones that when I wake up the next morning, and I'm like, that was not something falling off the shelf. That was something thrown across the room. And
you can't deny it, and there's no explanation for it, and it's too should just be a rational explanation.
Yeah.
Yep, I get those.
And I get those. I have to have a step back from it first before I decide, that was that was huge.
All right, so the next question we had in chat is, what is the one object in the world that you never want to be haunted?
One object that I never want to be haunted?
Yeah.
My bar. That way I can always go there.
Leave my bar alone.
I mean, yeah. The rest I can, use for, I just need my one zone where I can go to and I'm good.
Right. It's your safe space.
Yep.
All right. So this next one kind of goes back to what you were talking about before. So Roland is asking, what is the predictive? Does that open preconception? If one wants a knock 3 times, what keeps one looking for a 3 knock? I think it becomes a forced pareidolia. So I almost think what he's saying is, like, if you go in expecting something to happen, could you basically be manifesting it?
All right, let's say that's true. So let's say, all right, let's use the 3 knock example. So let's say every time I go to the Granger between 7 and 8 in the dining room, I get 3 knocks. And I predict that's going to happen. I go to the Granger, I get 3 knocks from nowhere. Now, what I'm proving is that something's happening that can't be explained. The rest of that after that, if I'm generating it or it's a ghost, that's not my business as far as that experiment goes. And it's not, if I'm really getting 3 knocks and we're recording it, it's not in my head. So we record everything. If it's a recorded effect, then it's happening. So if I'm manifesting it or a ghost manifesting it, doesn't matter to me on that experiment. The experiment it is happening. Does that make sense?
Yes.
After that, now I can do an experiment after that saying, is it me manifesting it? We do the same thing, but I don't show up for the experiment. If it still happens, then it's not me manifesting it. It's always baby steps, trying to chop it up.
Right. It would almost have to be a situation where, so I guess I could see like the control factor in that would be you figure out what you want to or have someone else decide. So like Sarah in Granger House, has Sarah come up with something in her head that says, okay, I want this to happen. So you put the predictive part of it out there that this is what's going to happen tonight on this investigation, but she doesn't tell anybody who's going to be there. And she's not there. You know what I mean?
No, I get that, but I guess what we're doing is something different. We're going off of past things that have happened in the past.
Okay.
Enough that we can say they're going to happen again. We're not pulling something out of thin air and saying, right, we think there's going to be 3 knocks. We haven't had 3 knocks, so that's not on the table. What is going to happen is we're going to go into the dining room with the spirit box, and we are going to get a lot of references to food, and, which is not meaningful in itself, but it's the things we've had before that we are going to say we can get them again if we go. And if we do, then I'm happy with that. It's not, now, whether I'm manifesting that or not, it's showing a pattern.
Sure.
Irregularity, if you want to call it that.
Right.
That, that isn't normal.
So I'm going to jump ahead a couple questions because Shay's saying, so even if you're manifesting something, that is still paranormal?
Yeah, of course it is. Because
falling into the true definition of paranormal.
Yes, it is. Because we don't, scientifically, it's not normal for us to manifest things.
Right.
So that's somewhere where we can, hey, look, it does happen.
Yeah. All right. So jumping back to the questions that I skipped then. So if you're out doing an investigation and you have multiple pieces of equipment out at the same time, multiple devices, and you get the same data on 4 devices, what's your thoughts on something like that?
Once again, it's paranormal's all about improbabilities. So 4 devices going off, and it depends what devices they are. Some devices are better at going off than others, put it that way. So
yeah.
4 things I have that I trust that go off at the same time. That's a moment I'm capturing and keeping, if you see what I mean. So, if the SLS camera is showing a stick figure, a trifield's going off, and the ghost feeder's going off, then definitely I'm all about that's good. I'm going to keep that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I feel like I'm hammering you with questions, but I want to pick your science brain here. So.
I've got a science brain. It's just an IT guy. You got to remember, I deal with
to
network.
me, that's a science brain because I can't
can't
do anything.
see what goes on in the network. I have to sit down and shut it into little bits and try and figure out stuff. So.
Yeah, and I look at the whole thing and just go, screw this. Somebody else figure it out. So, so do you think that sometimes do you think sometimes investigations of the paranormal opens up a window into another dimension?
Here's the thing, hashtag. Everybody dollar when they use it.
It was in chat already.
It's so if you look at things like string theory and the brain world theory, yes, there are lots of dimensions. How we influence those, I have no idea. So it's not that I disbelieve in different dimensions, because it looks like roughly that's where we're going as far as science goes. But how we affect the different dimensions, whether we're doing, an investigation or not, I don't see how, if we're investigating something, how that should be more of a influence on another dimension than us driving to work, if you see what I mean. We're still living in the physical world, and we are still bound by the rules of physics. Isn't that a horrible, dry answer?
No, it's the silence comes. I feel bad. I have to be the worst host right now, because the silence comes from I'm listening to your answer and you're making my brain work. And
that's good. Like, that's what the book was supposed to do, and I don't mind what people believe. I want them to think about it a little, so that when I ask them why they believe that, they can say, I'm not going to attack anybody's belief. I'm just interested in why.
Why do you believe it? Yeah, absolutely.
There's no shame in that, I don't think.
So just a comment for you. Mama Pat, you just won big points with her. She says, yay, someone who understands paranormal refers to anything that is beyond the norm.
Yes, that's, it's about the odds. So
yeah, because technically that is the definition. It's just not what most people think of when they hear paranormal. So
no, it's the same as UFOs and Bigfoot. What are the odds of, Gigantopithecus surviving? Pretty slim, but people see it. Or people visiting for another, it's basically the odds.
So Sarah is asking, what is the one commercially haunted location in the world that you would love to spend a week in?
Commercially, I don't know, be honest with you. Where as far as haunted place I'd love to go is Borley Rectory, because the BBC actually caught stuff there, and for the BBC to catch stuff, I know that's not faking it. So, but as far as commercially, I don't know. I mean, the problem is, to me, it's commercial, so it's going to be hit or miss. It's going to be a narrative wrapped up in a narrative from all the people that have gone there. And I'd like to go to places where there's just, start of the kernel.
Right.
For me.
So Mama Pat's jumping back and she's saying, but John, in that case, I'm not sure what you just said, but she says in that case, it does kind of validate the spiritist when Kelly gets a message intuitively and then finishes the message on the device. So I guess that wasn't a question, sorry. I thought there was a question in there. I should have read the whole thing. I
didn't write off the spiritist. I just think
no.
It's a hard way of doing something.
Yeah. So Shay said, he said string theory. Can you explain that for listeners? She's asking for a friend, of course.
You want me to explain string theory? Oh, my word. I'm not sure I fully understand all the implications. The thing is, I guess, things are either a particle or a wave. And string theory says everything's made up of a wave, and that there are dimensions tucked within our dimensions. I kind of understand it, and me explaining it to someone else is really hard. Then to carry that forward, there's the brainworld theory where everything in our universe is stuck on, let's say, a piece of parchment, and there are other pieces of parchment. So, yes, there are more dimensions left and right and other universes. In fact, one of the ideas was gravity is one of the weaker forces because it has to travel across multiple brains. Does that help? Because it didn't help me very much. Look it up. There's some good YouTube videos on string theory. Basically, it's whether things are particles or waves. If they're waves, it's vibrating strings that cause things to happen and cause particles, and that's where we get things where, you look at one particle can change another particle even though there's nothing connecting them. So it's
right
because of the vibration of strings.
Well, Shay, ask your friend if that answered the question, because, we'd hate to not get the answer. All right. So I have been picking your brain all night long, and I appreciate that. But I know you're not, but you are. See, you have to understand, for me, on the woo-woo world that I live in, anybody who thinks logically
I actually had to send my book off to a doctor with quantum in physics.
Yeah.
Because I was like, make sure my stuff's right before I publish it, please.
Right.
And I had to change some of it because a lot of my science I got from popular shows, which aren't really true. They just, do the drama of, this might be possible, when really it's probably not.
See, and now you're being psychic, John, because I was just going to say, so one of the main reasons that I wanted to bring you on the show this week is because you just released a new book. So beautiful segue, dear. That was beautiful.
That for a shameless plug.
Little psychic moment there. So, go ahead. Okay.
Go ahead, go on.
We'll talk. All right. So one of the reasons, like I said, that I wanted to bring you on is because you let me know when your book got published, which is super, super cool. Why don't you tell everybody about your book, Leaps of Faith?
Yeah,
Ghost hunting and objectivity.
It's on Amazon. You can probably search it better. It's called Ghost Hunting and Objectivity, which isn't the most sexiest of titles, I'm afraid, but there you go.
Titles are supposed to be sexy.
I know, and they're supposed to have all the great pictures on, but, it's, if you search for Ghost Hunting and Objectivity, you'll probably find it quicker. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, doesn't cost you anything. Otherwise, it's like $3.99 and $12.99 for paperback. Basically, it started as guidelines for our group. Then maybe we were going to do ghost hunting thing for people who's never done it at the Granger House. And then once I started, I couldn't stop. And then I started doing research, and then it grew from there. And then the science came in and all that stuff. So, it's like 172 pages of me trying to fit things together and explain that for most people, the paranormal is a leap of faith. And
yeah, absolutely.
To just admit that ghosts may exist is a big leap of faith for people. So when you go further and start explaining that shadow people are really demons, and all of a sudden you realize how big of a leap of faith that is for a lot of people. If that makes sense.
No, that absolutely makes sense.
Basically show you're working.
Where to go? Okay. So Kim was asking, if you go to the same place all the time and the same time every night, you will get the same thing. Is that a residual haunting? And what are your thoughts then on a residual haunting and how that works?
I have a totally different idea than the established intelligent / residual haunting thing. I picked mine up from, I can't even remember the name of the book now. The science behind it was kind of yes and no. But the idea he had to me was that, let's say when you die, excuse me, he called it, and I love this term, an intelligent singularity. So you're not matter, your energy, and his idea was that, maybe, once again, I'm not an expert, I'm not saying this is absolutely true, the idea, I love it, is that maybe you're not always coherent. It's like sleeping, dreaming, and sometimes you're more awake than others. So when you dream of, at least I do, the same things. So you go to work, you dream of, whatever it is that's familiar to you, which is why places, and we've had more stuff from places where people lived and were happy than we have from places where there's been an axe murder and they've pulled their nostrils out through their ears and stuff like that. So his idea was, and the more I do this, the more I'm kind of liking this idea that, so if they're dreaming or in a dream state, they're going to do the same things over and over again.
Right.
If they're more coherent in their mind, if they're more awake for whatever reason, whether it's because we're interacting with them or whatever the reason is, you start getting intelligent responses. But you also get responses of, sometimes you'll get chatter in the background, like people are having a conversation, or, so, I like that idea of as far as a building, tape recording, something happening, I like the idea that someone's there, and they're doing the same thing over and over again because they're kind of dreaming, so that covers all the bases in one unifying theory for me that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not, I don't know. Maybe one day I will when I drop dead, but
it's an interesting way of looking at it, definitely.
I don't like that thesis.
Okay. Yeah. Somebody made a comment that Kelly's speechless in here, and I'm like, yes, because you keep making my brain work, and I'm thinking about everything you're saying, and I realize you've stopped talking, and I'm still thinking, and there's this moment of silence in the middle. So,
sorry.
No, you're great. This is good. I like the questions that make you think. I like the answers that make you think, and I think that this type of approach to things is what needs to be there. We need the people that are going to do the deep thinking on these things. And it's not that I don't deep think things. It's just I think it from a different angle. I'm thinking it from the other side of things, So, yeah, I love questioning my own thoughts to see, listening to your answers and bumping them against my thoughts and the way that I think and do things, and think, how does that change things? How is that going to affect the way that I approach things going forward? And I just think we need more people who are going to do stuff like that. So
they're not really answers. They're just theories.
Theories.
I don't know, but
I don't either.
Find something that fits, and without that, you can't make comments.
Yeah, you've probably been around me enough at this point to hear me have said, I'll tell you my truth. This is my truth. Doesn't mean it's anybody else's. So,
I won't go that far as to say it's my truth. It's my theory, and it might change if someone comes up with something better.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we are just over an hour already. That's gone by so quick. So I'm going to start getting some cards ready because I was, again, very distracted and was not even paying attention. So, John, why don't you tell everybody again the title of your book, where they can find it, how they can find you, where to follow you, all that fun stuff.
Like I say, the book is called Leaps of Faith, Ghost Hunting, and Objectivity. It's exclusively on Amazon. So if you got Kindle Unlimited, it's free. You can just borrow it and download it. If you buy it on Kindle, it's $3.99. If you buy the paperback, it's $12.99. And it's had good reviews. I can't review my own work. I like it, but I'm not going to tell everybody it's great because
I would hope you like it. And how can they find you? Where can they find you when you want to keep up with you?
if I can add,
Yeah.
there is a thing, I keep saying about, theories and science and everything. One thing to say that there is a thing that's called the half-life of facts, which means that in most scientific areas, the half-life differs, but 50% of what we thought was fact goes away and gets replaced by something else. So that's why I said it's the theory I like right now, but that may change.
Excellent. All right. So, while he was answering that last question, like I do with most of my shows, I try to do just a one-card general read for everybody. And so I was drawing out a card while he was answering the last question. Tonight I'm drawing a card out of my Earth Magic Oracle deck. And the card that I drew is the Tree card, and this has to do with grounding. And it's basically saying that you have been feeling scattered and spacey lately. You are not fully in your body, and that is because you have not been able to get grounded. This is quite literal in that your body is made of the materials of the earth. So when you feel disconnected from your body, you are inevitably disconnected from earth. So get yourself grounded. You can do so quite simply. With your feet firmly planted on the ground, wherever you are, feel the electric roots that extend into the earth. Follow your breath so that each time you exhale, you can imagine these roots going even deeper. Each time you inhale, draw up the loving, nurturing power of Mother Earth. As soon as you have had the chance, go outdoors and sit or stand with your back supported by a tree. Feel its solidness and integrity. It is simply being a tree. Breathe in the essence of tree spirit and allow this to fill you up. Walk barefoot very slowly on the ground so you can maintain this connection. Really what I think this card is saying, guys, is that our lives are full of chaos all the time. We have always got a million things that is going on in our lives, and we forget sometimes to just breathe, to just reset. Think about yourself like your cell phone, or think about yourself like your computer. You don't just use it nonstop. Sometimes you restart your phone to reset it, or you'll restart your computer to reset it. Why would you not think that you and your energy needs that same thing? So take a moment to push the reset button, to get that grounded, to get a fresh start again. And it really can be as simple as take a walk, go outside, put your feet in the grass, breathe. You don't even have to be outside, but it can do wonders. It really can. If you're not an earth-based person as much, I'm a moon-based girl. I'm a moon girl. I'll do the same thing. I'll go outside when the moon is full, and I will just let this moonlight shine down on me, and I will breathe in the energy of the moon, and I will reset, and I will recharge. And I just find that balance again. So this is just a strong encouragement with everything that's going on right now. Make sure you're not losing your footing. Make sure that you're getting that grounding underneath you, and that you're not letting the chaos get the better of you. You have to remember to take care of yourself. And sometimes that's really hard. I'm probably one of the worst people at it, so fully aware that I'm supposed to be listening to this too. We need to take care of ourselves so we can be our best people and our best energy. That way we can be out there helping people. So, yeah. All right. John.
Yeah.
Any last things you'd like to let people know?
You know what? You guys are great. Thank you very much for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
You're the best. We're going to have you back on because there's more questions they had. There's more questions I had, and I'm going to be thinking about these answers, and I will have more questions for you, I'm sure. So I'm sure I will.
At your convenience.
Definitely. All right, so guys, coming up for me this Friday night on Shay's Paranormal Chat, I will actually be there for once, joining the lovely Miss Shay, and our guest is going to be Casey Colburn, and she is starting a new show here on Paranormal Buzz Radio called Cauldron Talk. That's coming soon, so we're going to get to do a quick introduction of her and get to know her a little bit better, so I'm excited for that and excited to join everybody again on Friday with my sporadic schedule. On Saturday, like I said, I will be at Malvern Manor at Chris Case's event where he is bringing in Elizabeth Saint and Johnny Hauser and Charla Hardin and Ashley Godwin and a bunch of cool people attending that event. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing all of them and hanging out with everybody. And, of course, getting to investigate Malvern Manor because it's awesome. Because I woke up minutes before the show started, I don't have my calendar in front of me. I am off next week. There will not be a Realm Walker show. I will be doing a presentation at the Clinton, Iowa Library instead. So if you guys are anywhere near Clinton, Iowa at 5:30 on Wednesday the 23rd, stop on by the library and catch the presentation. I'll be just sharing some of my experiences with investigations, how I approach things, sharing some information on the locations I've been to, including my experiences at the Villisca Axe Murder House. So I know I've shared bits and pieces with people throughout different events and podcasts and all that, but I'll try to share more of the whole story that I got while I was there. Trying to think my schedule past that. Next Friday night, then the 25th, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, and I'm sure Shay will correct me if I'm wrong, I will again be with the lovely Shay on Shay's Paranormal Chat, and we will just be Shay and I, and we'll be shooting the shit and talking about stuff. So she's saying yes, so I'm assuming I must be right for once. Woohoo! Yeah. Saturday night, I will be at the Spook Cave campground going on a ghost tour that Chris Nielsen of Paranormatic is hosting. It is his last one of the season. Last I knew, he did have a spot or two open left on that. So if you guys are interested on doing an investigation on a haunted campground and in a cave, which is absolutely phenomenal experience, look up Paranormatic or Chris Nielsen and get in touch with him. I don't want to promise there's spots, but I think there are. Yes, it's an investigation of a cave that you do from a boat. It's a flooded cave. It's the coolest thing in the world. Anyways, that's as far as I can remember that I'm going to, I'll do one more plug. Coming up in a month, actually, on November 16th and November 17th, we have the Quad Cities Psychic and Paranormal Expo coming up. That is in Davenport, Iowa at the River Center. We are going to have over 50 vendors that are psychics, mediums, healers, rocks, gems, crystals, sage, singing bowls, salt lamps, paranormal investigators, haunted locations. You name it, it's probably there. Just to name a few of our special guests, we will have the lovely Granger House in attendance. We will have Dan Class of the Haunted Hinsdale House, Coyote Chris Sutton, Mike Ricksecker, or Rickersnecker, as the gypsies love to call him. We will have Miss Brandy Green of Ghost Hunters International there. Chris Nielsen of Paranormatic will be there. Robert Baca, who is a phenomenal medium. Just so many. I can't even list them all. But if you guys are looking for something to do, November 16th, 17th, I'll be mentioning that quite often, I'm sure. But it's a very, very cool event. And it is the last one of 2019 for us. So, all right. I think I have blithered long enough. John, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And not freaking out that we had minutes before the show was supposed to start and I was not there. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for listening tonight. For everybody in chat, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. You are awesome. Chat is so much fun. If you're listening to this on the playback, I appreciate you as well, and we'll continue to support. And we will be back with the Realm Walker in 2 weeks. I'm Kelly McCarville, Moonspinner. Thank you very much and have a great night.